this point, the public is allowed to comment. The way you comment is to send an email to comments, oceanviewbd.gov. That email will come to a couple people here, and we will then use the question.
You did get one that there's a loud buzzing sound, which I'm going to see if I can run out that's still happening. It might have been then, but I'm not sure. Bear with us, we're still working on tweaks. Everyone.
I second.
All in favor? Thank you. I now need a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting on July 15, 2021. Move to approve the minutes of July 15. Second. All in favor? Thank you. At this point, we're going to
We just got another comment about our
I think I will,
the message says it has not changed. And I apologize, this did not happen during our test day. So it's not clear what could be going on.
okay, the issue is not putting the bottle down. I wonder if it still was.
Ken, you got that mic? Who's got the hand?
Russ has it turned on and he has it in his back pocket.
That's it, that's whatever you did, that worked. Yeah, you should be good.
Okay, so, can you hear me well? Is it still buzzing, chief, or can you hear me talking? It's good? Okay. We're going to try to move forward. If anybody hears any static, please send us a message. At this point, we are going to hear the results for 2021 PKS.
What is that PKS?
Where's the mic? Oh. Yes, I have that there.
Russ, we need the mic.
You can speak, don't make it up on the microphone.
Well, that,
Yes.
I'm pretty loud as it is. All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having us here again this year. To introduce myself, for those of you I haven't met, my name is Ashley Stern. I'm a partner with PKS and Company. We're your town auditors. With me, I have Alyssa Revel. She is a manager on the audit, so she's going to give some details, and I'm going to give some details. Before the meeting, we passed out 3 copies in front of you. You should see 3 packets. I'm actually only going to focus on the colored packet in front of you to keep you from needing to flip through a bunch of pages. So just the colored packet. The other 2 are the same packets that you were provided electronically prior to this meeting. The formality is that when the audit's presented, it's considered final. Prior to that time, it's just considered a draft. So at this meeting, these would be the finals, and we will email Carol and Dawn the finals after these meetings. So again, thank you for having us here today. We really do appreciate your time. And thank you to the entire town staff who has had to put up with us over the past couple months of this audit. Thank you to John, Carol, the entire staff. Mayor Reddington, thank you for your help during the audit. We really do appreciate the warm hospitality that you guys have showed. It's always good to come into an audit when people aren't adverse to having you there as well. On page 1 and 2 of the financial statements, you'll find our opinion. This is actually why you're getting an audit, is to have an opinion on your financial information and to be able to rely on that information. I'm happy to state that this year, like the previous year, our opinion is unmodified. This is previously known as an unqualified opinion. This is the highest level of assurance that CPAs can provide on financial statements. This is a very good audit results. There's a second report that you'll see from us in the financial statements. That's found on pages 50 and 51 of the financial statements, just for future reference. It's our report on internal control over financial reporting and compliance and other matters. But naturally, this is known as our report on the internal controls of the town. So if we needed to report any material weaknesses, which would be major problems, or significant deficiencies in the internal controls of the town, we would report those here. I'm happy to state that we did not identify any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in internal control over financial reporting. Also, we didn't identify any non-compliance that would need to be reported in accordance with government auditing standards. Yeah.
I have a question. When
Yes.
you say non-compliant, you mean non-compliant with the rules? When you found something that seemed kind of fishy?
It would be non-compliance with any laws, regulations, grant agreements, etc. The material weaknesses or any, if anything was fishy, we would report them as well in the same report.
Okay. Thank you.
Taking a look at your government-wide financial statements, so this includes all of the funds of the town. And this is reported on the full accrual basis, which is similar to what businesses are used to, having liabilities and assets in accordance with the full accrual basis. So a couple key points that I want to point out is one, the total assets of the town increased from 2020 to 2021 from just over 26 million to just over 28 million. And that's a good increase. We want to see the assets of the town increase. Similarly, the net position of the town, and the net position is really what we look at, is known as the health of the town. Is there any concern that the town wouldn't be able to provide the services it's promised to its residents? The health of the town increased from 2020 to 2021 from 22 million to just over $24 million. So that is a really positive thing, especially in a really rough year. We're seeing a lot of municipalities, government organizations really struggling throughout these years. So that means that the town is continuing to preserve its funding. Taking a look at this statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position, probably most commonly known as the income statement. Again, a couple key points that I just want to point out. Total revenues of the town actually decreased from 2020 to 2021, and that has to do with your building permits. New construction decreases, building permits decrease, and that's going to fluctuate from year to year. But there were increases in your resale transfer taxes, as well as some other various grants that were received. Again, as I mentioned, the total health of the town, the net position, did increase by just over $2 million. Now, I think a graph speaks 1,000 words, and just for reference, I'm on page 5 of that packet. And this is really the expenditures of the town by program. So this is by service that the town is providing to its residents, to its citizens. This is pretty consistent with what we see in other towns. The largest percentage of expenditures is the public safety, is the protection of the police of the town. Secondly, being the general administration, generally running the town costs money. And then third, directly behind that is our drainage, our street maintenance, and projects. And again, that's consistent with what we see across local towns. There's certain funding that needs to occur, or certain expenses, and we believe that's right in line with what we would expect. Taking a look at our general fund, we focus so much on the general fund in our budgetary process, which I know you guys have recently completed, or I guess a couple months ago now. But it feels like just yesterday. But we spent so much time really focusing on that. I want to make sure to take a reflection on how that's been this past year. We do have a budget to actual comparison schedule, which can be found on pages 43 through 47 of our financial statements. A couple keynotes about that. Actual amounts were favorable compared to the budget by just over $1.3 million. I know that sounds like a lot, but in governmental accounting standards, depending on when a project occurs, we might budget for it in fiscal year 2021, but it might not actually finish just until the 2022 year, and that's a big piece of this. I don't want it to sound like we didn't spend the money on the town that we should. There was a lot of street maintenance projects, which will be dependent upon the weather outside, as well as some drainage projects that are all dependent upon weather in those spring months that would have finished occurring in fiscal year 2022. Thus, you're not seeing them right here. Revenues were more than budget due to the timing of various home settlements for realty transfer taxes. It's really tough to predict, but I think the town has done a good job at projecting those out, and various public safety grants that were received. And also, there were just a few expenses that were also under budget. One, because of savings, and two, just because of timing during the pandemic. It was really tough for a lot of towns to get the orders that they needed to. Unassigned fund balance. So this is the fund balance that can be generally used for any town activities, was just over $2.6 million, or 25% of the total fund balance of the town. The GFOA does have a recommendation for this. They recommend that each town hold back at minimum 2 months of operating expenses in your unassigned fund balance. I calculated that out just as one of our audit procedures, and that would be just about $900,000. That would be the minimum that should be in this fund balance. I am not one to recommend the minimum. I always think that closer to 6 months is probably a better recommendation, but the GFOA does say at minimum 2 months. Yeah.
I have another question. That money that we hold in reserve, is that held in reserve like putting a sock in your drawer that you could stash the money away, which doesn't gain any interest, or is that put into a fund where there is interest gain?
There is interest gains on those funds, so they're saving in accounts that would gain interest or earn money on your money.
And as a general rule, there's never been a time where the town sticks money in somewhere that they're not going to gain something for it.
I see some towns want to put a little bit aside in something that's really quickly accessible, that an interest earning fund might not be, but never the size of what your unassigned fund balance would be. We've reflected back over the past, it's been 5 years now of when we implemented the pension accounting standard. So it's been a big hot point these past couple years, so I want to make sure to touch base on it. GASB 68 was implemented back in 2015. It's extended the number of footnotes that are in your financial statements. You'll see that on pages 35 through 40, and again on pages 48 and 49. The liability is actually measured as of June 20th. And that's because the town is on the Delaware pension plan, so you're kind of at the mercy of their year end, not your year end. The required contribution from 2020 to 2021 has increased, and this is typical as more people are hired, as the pension is moving, we would have an increased contribution, and that increased by just over $5,000. The liability on the town statements as of June 30th, 2020 was just over $157,000. Again, I know I've mentioned this in previous years, but we can't just write a check and pay this off. This is one of those things that is going to continue. An actuary will actually calculate it annually. But the real important thing is that the town has consistently funded the full amount of the required contributions to the pension plan. So every year there is a certain amount that the town is asked to contribute, and the town fully funds that every year. That's really important to note. Now that we've taken a look back at the past year, let's kind of take a look forward. Let's see what's coming down the pipeline that you all should be considering during your next meetings as you go through this next year. There's 2 new accounting pronouncements that could have an effect on the town's financial statements. First is GASB statement number 87, leases. We've probably been talking about this for 3 years, but they keep postponing the implementation. It now will be implemented in the 2023 year end. And that would be if the town enters into any operating leases. If there's a car that's on lease, if there's a printer that is on lease, there would be a new right of use asset and right of use liability on the government-wide financial statements. GASB statement number 97 actually refers to 457 deferred compensation plans. This would be effective for the 2023 year end as well. It's very similar to the pension accounting standard that we mentioned, but again, I don't believe this is going to have a significant effect on the town's financial statements. One of the things that has been happening recently for the town are those American Rescue Plan funds that we've received. So we've received our first payment of 2, and how those are to be accounted for. And honestly, we don't know what additional funding might come down the pipeline, so I think it's important to really go over what could happen with that funding. There is a $750,000 threshold for an additional audit on your federal funds. So if the town spends more than $750,000 of federal money in 1 year, they're required to have an additional audit. It's called a single audit, and it would be an audit just of those federal monies. So I think that's important to kind of keep in mind as we move through this. And this would be the accumulated total federal money, so it's not just one particular grant, it would be all grants combined together. So that's something that John, Carol, and I have really been talking about, making sure that we're in compliance, and the town has focused on it in the past, making sure that the procedures and policies are in place to be in compliance. So I feel certain that you guys, if there is additional federal funding, that we'll be okay with that audit. And now I'm going to allow Alyssa to go over our required auditors' communications.
before you go on, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
If we have to do an additional audit because of the use of federal money, can that money come out of federal funds that we get?
It depends on the funding source, but possibly.
Thanks.
So I'll be referring to the smaller packet that we gave you earlier, the staple one. This is our required language that we are required to state to you. It states that we have no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies, and we have no manual comments as well. We call you guys followed up on last year's one comment that we had. So no manual comments, and then it also states that there is no significant difficulties during our audit. We had cooperation from all the staff and no disagreements with management. And we reviewed and agreed with the estimates used in the financial statements as well. And like Ashley said earlier, we had no non-compliance with rules or regulations or laws or grant agreements during our audit. Any questions regarding anything?
Well, we're happy that we had a really great audit, so thanks very much.
We appreciate it. You guys should pat yourselves on the back for this. It's a tough year. Not all audits look like this right now. So I think that's a big accomplishment for the town.
Thank you, John.
I agree it's an accomplishment for the town, and it's really good to two people, which is Carol and John. Our finances have not looked any better in the 6 years that I've been here. We've been doing an excellent job.
I agree. Well, thank you so much. If you guys think of any questions after the fact, John and Carol have our contact information. We're always happy to answer anything, or if you come across anything during the year, but we really appreciate your time tonight.
Okay, moving on, we're going to move to the reports. First report is the financial report from Max.
Thank you. Before you have the financial report for the end date of August 31st. Just a little recap on the real estate tax. You know, taxpayers had till the end of July to take advantage of the 1% discount and until August 31st to pay the current year taxes without penalty. As of the end of August, we've collected 95% of our taxes, and we had a little over 2,500 property owners take advantage of the early discount with a savings of $22,000 this year. Moving to the municipal water system, as you know, this is the first month that we are considering disconnections for non-payment. On the 30th of August, High Water Utilities gave us 10 customers that qualified for disconnection. As of today, we have one payment agreement. One has paid in full and one has made a partial payment. We did add so that to try to get hold of everybody, the utility company is doing a robocall first off, and then this week letters have gone out. I have also sent out letters to any additional addresses that we've had on file just to try to get in contact with the people who have not paid. And we will be doing disconnects if they comes to that. I had the 22nd listed, but I think it's going to be Monday the 27th. We don't want to do it too close to a weekend. Moving on to our balances for our reserve and committed funds. Our emergency reserve trust fund has a balance of $912,529. Our capital replacement trust fund has a balance of $1,003,597. Our street repair replacement fund has $4,308,435. And as I had mentioned before, I've added the American Rescue Plan Act fund to the list. Of course, we have not spent any of those fundings as yet, so we still have the $591,182 in there. Our Emergency Services Enhancement Funding Program has a balance of $963,956 $963,956 in it. Based on the end of August, right now we only have 8 new home construction permits that have been issued and are in this total. For our transfer taxes, we just did get August numbers today. So what's reported is as of July 31st, and 38.8% of the new construction home sales, 0.5% being of land sales, and for resales was 61.2%. I do want to add so that you know what that actually means. We had 22 new construction homes sell in the month of July, 50 resale. So again, it's double in order to make about the same amount. We're having to sell double of the resales. For August though, we do have transfer taxes at $168,000 came in August. On pages 3 and 4, we have your revenue and expenditure financial reports followed by your analytics. If you have any questions on those numbers, I'd be happy to answer them.
Dawn, I have one question. Back to where the water's being cut off, are there any health-related issues connected with that, like with sewage? If these are residential homes and the water is cut off, that means
Sewer that doesn't have it. Sewer will still be, they are not, sewer's done by the county and we're not doing anything with there. It's separate, yes.
Thank you.
Looking, just add that, looking at these houses, not many of them are lived in, of the 10. There's 2 or 3 of them that are probably abandoned, a couple of them that are lived in. I think the people have probably just
Okay.
put it aside.
Thank you.
We did have a comment to remind everybody to just please speak up.
Any other questions for Dawn? Thank you, Dawn. We're going to move on to the public safety report.
Yes, Mayor, I'll do a quick review of the August activities of the police department. A couple things I'll point out is, we started off with the volunteer unit. They logged 166 hours of service in August of 2021. Some training took place, de-escalation and minimizing use of force, and bowl wrap instructor course. The bowl wrap's a new device that we're looking at. We actually got some grant money to buy some of these, and it's a restraint device designed to restrain the individual without using physical force. I'll be able to talk more about that at next month's meeting. The staff prepared and submitted a grant. I've got 30,000 in here. It's a little more than that. It's about 31,000 to the fund to combat violent crime. I'm happy to report that we were successful in that grant application, and we did receive a check for a little over $31,000 in money in the bank. So that's going to be used to upgrade our software in the evidence and property rooms, purchase some new equipment, and fund overtime. The Criminal Justice Council did a on-site compliance audit and inspection of the Ocean View PD cell block and all of our juvenile detention records. There was no problems there, although we are awaiting their official audit. Staff participated in the Delaware Police Chief Council meeting in Dover. Myself and Detective Harrington met with the Indian River School District Superintendent Jay Owens and District Administrator of Student Services, Pat Lewis. And we always try to meet with them at the beginning of the school year to go over the happenings at Baltimore Elementary School and our role and responsibility for security and safety there at the school. We have officers that are on site at the school daily, helping out with traffic issues before and after school, and also assisting the school constable with security-related issues. We also met with the new bank manager at Fulton Bank to review security measures and update our contact information. Our staff held a memorial ceremony and wreath laying event in honor of the 50th anniversary of the line of duty death of Colonel Wallace Nelson. That was on August 21st. And that was out at the Blackwater Church Cemetery. Officer Catherine Hazel graduated from the Dover Police Academy. Myself, the town manager, a couple of the officers attended the graduation ceremony. We were pleased. Officer Hazel received the academic award for the highest academic average in the recruit class. And she is actually out on the road this evening. In fact, she's being entertained right now, I believe, in her cell phone. But she's doing very well on her field training, and I anticipate that she will be released to begin patrolling solo sometime in mid to late November. She's doing very well so far in her field training program. We attended an overdose awareness event on the circle in Georgetown. Our staff, i.e. Sergeant Carter in the back, installed new surveillance camera and wiring here at 32 West Avenue, installed video conference equipment here at West Avenue, and that's the equipment that we're using this evening. Page 2 and 3 there run down the activities for the month of August, and I'll certainly entertain any questions that the council may have.
Chief?
Yes.
One question, back to calls for service with the 6 responses to Norville.
Yes.
Is there any way the council can get a cumulative number with this referring on, so we know how many we have total for the year?
Yes, we certainly can provide that information. We're tracking all that data. And,
You guys, that way we could have that actual number, so we can go back to Norville.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you very much.
I have a question.
Yes, Mr. White.
Tell us how well the bowling wrap works. The bowling wrap, how effective is that? How close do you have to be to the person for that to activate?
I think, as far as effectiveness, that remains to be seen. I was a little bit of a critic, to be honest with you, but I went through the training myself just because I wanted to see it for myself, and I was very surprised at how effective it was. And we've had a number of encounters recently where the whole route could have been applied. One was just last week with a subject that was suffering from mental illness and some other emotional problems. And so it's another tool in the toolbox. It's effective out to about 25 feet. There are some limitations to it, like there are a lot of other devices. So we're kind of optimistic that we are going to be able to use it though.
Thank you.
Okay. Possibly in the future we can do a demonstration. Safe to use inside the building, so we could do a demonstration right here in the building.
Sure.
Looks like I saw Councilman Malley volunteer.
I have a question, Chief. It's not very often that people, excuse me, it's not very often that people, especially patrolmen, get an accommodation from the general public.
Yes.
In fact, Mr. Clark wrote this letter, which I think is very nice regarding corporate itself. Could you expound on why Mr. Clark was stopped?
Honestly, what I know is it was a traffic stop. I believe the gentleman did receive a ticket, but in spite of that, he was very impressed with the professionalism of Caselli during the encounter and helped to read a letter. It's not the first time that's happened, but I think it's a reflection of the head of personnel that we have.
Be sure to give Corporal Caselli and thanks to every member on the council for keeping up a good name of Ocean View.
Absolutely. A copy of this does go in his personnel file and will be referenced in his next employment and performance appraisal.
Thank you.
Chief, one last question. How many incidents reports for this summer compared to last year?
I think we're in line. We're seeing a few more traffic crashes. folks that are coming to the area, increased traffic on 26. Most of our crashes this year have been on 26. They've been minor, property damage type of collisions. Unfortunately, we haven't had too many serious crashes, but that's where we're getting a big uptick. If we're looking at the stats from years past, we're seeing a little uptick in traffic crashes. Otherwise, crime is still relatively low, so we're doing a good job. Hopefully, we'll be the safest city again in 2021.
We expect it to be.
One more question regarding the traffic. How is the center lane on 26 been regarding the accidents?
It's a problem. We're seeing a lot of folks, it's a left turn lane only, and it's not a travel lane. It's not a passing lane, but it's used for all of those things. And, we're doing our best to try to enforce that, but I can tell you it's very difficult when it's bumper-to-bumper traffic out there, and somebody violates the regulations regarding that center turn lane, just for us to be able to get out in the traffic, lights and siren, chase them down and stop them, is a big deal. And sometimes it's not worth it, to be quite honest with you. We have to weigh, the risk versus the rewards. And we've had 2 collisions this past year with police vehicles while we're out there trying to enforce traffic laws and heavy congestion. So it is difficult. It's a problem. It's not going to go away, to be quite honest with you. So,
because I see a lot of people use that center lane when they're trying to turn left. They use that center lane when there's a very good traffic coming from their left. They use that center lane to enter the highway. And I imagine most of those people said, well, I'm going to turn left eventually.
yeah, eventually. 200-300 yards down the road. Yeah, that's really not what it's designed for. Again, it's a left turn lane only. It's not a merging lane. It's not a travel lane. And like I said, it's a problem. It's not going to go away. It's something that we're going to deal with, forever, probably.
Thank you.
I just wanted to share that we're getting a little bit of conflicting information. You have one individual saying everything's very clear, and then another saying still a bad echo, and requesting can we put up captions. And at this point in time, we don't have that ability, but we'll discuss if that's a possibility. I'm not sure if the echoing is something specific to the individual, but that's not what we're hearing from everybody. But I just wanted to share the information.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the planning, building, and development report by Ken Simonet.
Thank you, Mayor Reddington. I'm just going to gloss over these maintenance and operation items. We'll be continuing our tree trimming along the right-of-way on Thursday, September the 16th. The areas of interest are Woodland Avenue, Betts Avenue, and Daisy Avenue. Impacted property owners have been notified by letter as of August 31st, 2021. Tree trimming on Pollard Drive will be completed on September 20th and 21st. This tree trimming doesn't impact any particular properties. The Homeowners Association was notified on August 19th, 2021. The inlet and sidewalk and roadway repairs on Amanda's Way in Savannah's Land Community were completed this morning. I attached some photographs of the rebuilt drainage structures for your review. And we also completed repairs to the exposed aggregate concrete sidewalk out near John West Park. We had damaged sections of sidewalk that were raised or cracked. They were removed and replaced. We'll begin sidewalk repairs in the Avon Park community tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Email went out to the Homeowners Association to make notification. Shouldn't impact too many individual homeowners unless they're tearing up sidewalk if they're driving over. And then the contractor, George Lynch, will knock on the door and make arrangements for the parking street. This next item is worth significant mention. In 2019, we did a traffic safety study along the north side of town, corridors of Woodland Avenue and Central Avenue, to try to get a handle on speeds and cut through traffic. COVID delayed the follow-up study. It was recently completed this summer, in July of 2021. The executive summary is attached to the report for your review. Two things to notice is that the implementation of the always stops at the intersections of Oakland and Woodland, Hudson and Woodland, Daisy and Woodland, and Best and Woodland had decreased the speeds on Woodland Avenue. We did notice an uptick in right turn movements from Central Avenue to Oakland Avenue as folks try to circumvent the traffic signal at 26 and Central Avenue. So we will be implementing a restricted right turn from southbound Central Avenue onto westbound Oakland Avenue. We'll notify all the affected residents, fire board, and so on prior to implementing that change. And another thing that came out of the study is we were able to confirm that we do have a speeding issue on Daisy Avenue going eastbound from Woodland to Central. And that will lead into one of the next items in our capital projects, but we are going to address that issue in one of our capital projects. Land Development, Blue Heron subdivision located on Woodland Avenue that I believe everyone is familiar with. We'll be back in front of Planning and Zoning Thursday, September 16, 2021 with a concept review. Capital projects. We'll talk a little bit about pedestrian mobility. Design of the West Avenue pedestrian mobility project from Atlantic Avenue to John West Park is complete. This project will be advertised in the coming months, with construction expected to commence on January 5th, 2022, and an anticipated completion date in May of 2022. All of the proposed improvements will be constructed in the town right away. We're in the process of scheduling a meeting with the affected homeowners along the corridor between SR 26 and Oakland Avenue to give them an update on what the plan is and what we're going to do. Design of the Daisy Avenue, Woodland Avenue intersection improvement project is 40% complete, despite the addition of sidewalks along Daisy Avenue, Central Avenue, and the incorporation of traffic calming measures that came out of the traffic study I just talked about. The sidewalks and traffic calming measures were not part of the original scope. The schedule for this pedestrian mobility project on Daisy Avenue leading to the Gaswoman Trail Canal was accelerated. The project was initially scheduled to be designed in 2024 with construction in 2025. As of this report, the anticipated construction date for this project is September 2022. So we moved that up in the program, recognizing we had some safety issues, concerns, and a lot of pedestrians. Design of the Woodland Avenue pedestrian mobility project from Atlantic Avenue to Hudson Avenue is 20% complete. As of this report, I do not have an anticipated construction date. Drainage projects. Country Village and Country Estates drainage improvement project is on hold until we can acquire 2 drainage easements for the conveyance of the water from the right-of-way to the prong for the deep hole tax ditch. Design of the Hudson Avenue pipe culvert replacement project is 75% complete. As of this report, the anticipated construction date is May 2022. Design of the Cottages drainage improvement project is 50% complete. We get a lot of questions about this project. Is it going to happen? As of this report, the anticipated construction date for this project is October 2022. Hudson Avenue is obviously the furthest point of the waterway, dumps into the White Creek. You have to build from the bottom up. Hudson Avenue is going to be constructed first, and then we'll work our way to Cottages. Permits and COs, total building and sign permits. In July and August were 93. Total COs in July were 48. Business and rental licenses for calendar 21, 1,266. We issued 7 code violations for failure to obtain building permits, 11 code violations for failure to obtain business license, 9 for property maintenance, for tall grass, 2 for property maintenance violations for overgrown shrubs and trees, 13 random license and personal receipts tax violations. Code enforcement, with the assistance of police department, we worked to resolve an issue with 6 Ocean Beach Drive, where it appeared that the owner was violating the rental occupancy limit ordinance and violation of section 140-152 of the town code, which is a definition of a dwelling unit. There apparently were numerous individuals residing in this residence who were not related. One thing not on here is we also did respond to a rental occupancy complaint in Wedgefield. We investigated that. I reached out to the property owner, and that was resolved as well.
Any questions? Ken? The code violation on 6 Ocean Mist Drive, was that a result of a resident complaint?
It was a result of a occupant complaint, correct?
Yes, initially, it was actually 2 separate complaints in about a week from a former occupant, and then there was some police action that occurred as a follow-up to that. They were unrelated, but there was some police action there.
I'll try to summarize as quickly as I can. We did have our first fall concert last Friday, and although I was unable to attend it, I've been told between 150 to 200 people participated, good weather, and everybody seemed to have a good time. This Friday is Hot Sauce Band, followed by September 24th, the Funsters, and that'll bring our fall concerts to an end. Just to give you the dates of our Cops and Goblins event, October 30th, and then the Old Town Holiday Market and tree lighting, November 27th, that's the Saturday after Thanksgiving. Both of the events are, the planning is well underway, and we'll give you more updates on that in the month ahead. Ocean View Historical Society received its certificate of occupancy for the Hall store last week. This was issued following the completion of the sidewalk, the ADA sidewalk that we've talked about numerous times. I'm also happy to share that although the town committed $15,000 towards the construction of the sidewalk, the fundraising efforts of the Historical Society resulted in the town only spending $4,600. They were able to get $18,000 from state bond bill, and the sidewalk is in place. It looks very well, and it satisfies all the requirements that allow them to get their CO. The Coastal Town Historic Village, the Historical Society also has set a date for a Chicken Festival fundraiser for June 25th, 2022. You may recall that this was going to happen in 2020, excuse me, but was canceled because of the COVID. Planning is underway again. This is to be a scaled down version of the old Delmarva Chicken Festival of years ago that I've been told, I never attended it, got thousands and thousands of participants. It will be billed as a mini version of the Chicken Festival, and advertising will be scaled back. However, we have expressed, I met with the chief and Captain Hall recently, who have witnessed the old festival, and you know, we have concerns about being able to handle the crowds that might show up. So that is still an active discussion related to this event. America Rescue Plan Act, we I have completed a first draft of what we might want to use the funding for, and that the town of Ocean View is receiving. Ashley mentioned it as well. That information I hope to get out to you by early next week, and then I would propose that we have a workshop to discuss it. The best date that, just from some light polling, was October 26th, 6 p.m. If that was good with the rest of council, holding a workshop at that time would then enable the full discussion, followed by direction given to me to begin to work on any of it at the November 9th council meeting. So if Mayor and Council were so inclined tonight, I'd like to know if we thought the October 26th date might work.
Well, what's everybody think of the October 26th date? Fine with me.
I'm good.
I'm not gonna check. Let me be away. I'll be away, but I'll have to check.
Okay.
Typically, just for everybody, just to share that if we need a workshop, it's usually the fourth Tuesday, the third Tuesday, I'm sorry, of the month. So that's why that date is being picked.
Frank, how's that work for you?
Good for me until I check with my scheduler.
Okay.
Okay, how about I send out something tomorrow and then everybody can let us know,
Okay,
so we can plan.
that's good.
Well, I have a question on that chicken festival, just to be
Sure.
a second. Is that a one-time event?
One day.
But is it going to recur every year?
They would hope to. It's a fundraiser for the Historical Society.
Okay, and
That's
we're
the
not-
intent of it.
Okay, and we're not going to get stuck into it by then. I mean, with the homecoming, eventually the town took that over.
No, we would not get stuck in it. As you know, I'm on the board, so I have the ability now to have comment early on with things. So no, we'll participate. I think at this point in time, the only thing we would be doing is handling all the crowd control and the street requirements, and then we'd probably have a booth and probably help out with some of that, just to get, the town's involvement. But of course, we would have our public works and trash and all that would be customary. To what extent at this point, I can't say. There's work underway to have the chicken donated by Mount Air. There's other fundraising being conducted right now to have people who are going to cook the chicken and deliver it so that platters can be sold. That's the main fundraising is sale of platters, chicken platters. But many less events than what took place, if anybody is familiar with the former. Again, I only know of it from
It was
pictures.
a huge event.
And
I mean, huge.
and it took place over a course of a week. This would be 1 to 6 or 7 p.m.
That's where they cook chicken in a giant skillet.
Yes, and that is not available either anymore. So that would of course be an attraction, and it will not be here. But we are going to have a site meeting early October. The chief or Captain Hall will attend, and as will some of the other key participants in the on the committee.
Thank you.
Okay. Blue Star Memorial. I'm also happy to advise you all that the Salt Air Gardeners who came to us to develop a Blue Star Memorial here in Ocean View are still gearing up to help us with this. They are doing a fundraising concert on Friday, October 15th. They're handling all the aspects of it, and they have previously raised funds in this fashion. And with that said, we're also happy to tell you that Ken and I got good information from DelDOT. They have provided a verbal approval and also provided us the draft of an occupancy agreement for the site that has been selected, which is the corner of Woodland and Atlantic Avenue. I provided you a little picture of a rendering of the site. It would include the flowers and things that the gardeners will maintain, as well as some trees, some evergreen or holly type trees, a bench with handicap accessibility, but most importantly, a very large stone with the Blue Star Memorial placed on it. So that's exciting, and I feel very confident that this is going to be completed in the near future.
Looking at this rendering, is it possible to have the stone elevated so it's more prominently displayed?
Yes, or to have a larger stone.
Yeah.
This is just what we have, but that's definitely something we can take into consideration.
So it will not be on a post like the one in Bethany Beach? It will not be on a pole, on a post?
No, it won't be on a pole. We decided to, instead of just having a sign on the street, to actually kind of make it a little sitting area, where a beautification sitting area with the stone there. If we have enough funding, I would like to maybe put a flagpole as well, but we don't have that in the rendering because just not sure about the fundraising effort at this point.
But my question is, will traffic going by be able to see it or notice it or not?
That is the intent. That's the intent. The positioning of it right there on the corner is such that it should allow for that, as well as for the pedestrian traffic that we expect we will get at that corner with the new Ocean View Brewery and other things, walkability efforts that are underway. But again, we'll definitely take that into consideration.
Thank you.
Mayor and Council, I know you're aware, but I wanted to share it again in this report because I didn't have an opportunity to do so until now, but excited about the American Planning Association Small Town Award that the town won for its 2020 Comprehensive Plan. This is an award that's presented to an outstanding comprehensive plan that addressed the development of a neighborhood, community, county, or region. So, of course, all the staff are very excited about this recognition, and also excited about the level of engagement that was offered and also taken advantage of by our community. I'm very thankful for all the efforts of the Planning and Development Division, of course, under Ken Cimino's leadership, with a great big old shout out to Assistant to the Director, Jill Oliver, for her efforts associated with pulling the plan and the submission for this award together. One of the key successes that we were told when, in regards to winning the award, was that our town's effort to work on and complete even some of the items that were identified in our plan since its completion. So you've heard me say it before, writing before, whatever, we are working our plan, and that's what we're supposed to do. That's why you do the plan, not just to put it on the shelf. And that was recognized by the people evaluating for the award. I'm also, lastly, I am happy to say that we have negotiated the extension of the lease for the South Coastal Village Volunteers to remain as one of our tenants here, as well as Osher. They're coming back slowly, but they will be back hopefully full strength in the near future. But they're two very community-oriented organizations that I believe add value to our community, and their partnership with the town is just a plus, I believe. So that there are two good things that happened also. I won't go through all the public works reports, but I'd be happy to answer questions about that or anything else.
Any questions for the town manager? No? Okay, thank you, Carol. I think I should repeat the announcement I made when we started, that because of the interference that people may not have heard, that the town had some significant investment in the technology that allows us to be able to carry out these meetings through YouTube for the public. And until we are satisfied that the COVID pandemic is over, we will hold these public meetings with the public on YouTube and with the town council and chambers. So, are there any other comments for the town managers, town directors? If not, then we move to citizens' privilege on the items on the pre-published agenda listed for discussion and consideration, or items subsequently added for discussion and consideration. If anyone chooses to speak at the first citizens' privilege, he or she may not speak on the same topic at the second citizens' privilege. So at this time, I invite the public to send in your emails on any question related to the agenda that we've discussed up to this point in time, to comment at oceanviewde.gov.
Mr. Mayor, while we're waiting to see if anybody asks a comment, we should note for the record that there was an activity report for the Millville Volunteer Fire Company that is part of the LinkedIn agenda. I don't think there's anything startling on it, we just should note that it was prepared and submitted.
Yes, we do get this report each month from the Millville Volunteer Fire Department, and it tells us the types of calls they made, comparing it to this month, last month, and the year previous month. I guess in the town of Ocean View, the fire department made 6 calls and EMS 31 calls within the town of Ocean View.
I can share something.
Okay.
Just today, I've been talking to Millville Fire because of the difference in the naming of calls between Millville, the town of Millville, and the town of Ocean View. And if they couldn't make them, to my knowledge, and they have confirmed, they don't do any different services there than they do here. So the titling of the calls to me should be the same. And I guess there was a request from Millville at some point in time to break out the calls at the Millville Medical Center. But I have now been told that, fire, total calls within the town limits for the month, possibly without a breakdown, might be what they would resort to. It's not, I don't think, what we would want. I think we want both. So we'll have more conversations with that. But regardless, one way or another, I think would be to be able to really evaluate and use that information and understand it. I think it has to be the same for both towns.
This is South Coastal, Senator. This MMC is South Coastal?
It's been relayed to me as Millville Medical Center.
So it's probably South Coastal.
MMC, but that MMC was being used before that was open. So that's still not clear. But so I'm working on that because I do use that data, and I'm keeping track of it because eventually, with the build out of Millville, I think it's important to make sure we're paying the share that we should be paying, and they should be paying the share that they're paying to support Millville Fire, and that's why having the data is important, at least to me. So we're working on that, since you brought it up.
Hey, Carol, I can add too that MMC is the Millville walk-in clinic, the BB walk-in clinic.
You mean the walk-in clinic?
Next
Not
to
South Coastal.
Yeah, it's not the facility.
Not the one with 17.
17. If somebody's in that facility, that's considered a hospital facility, walk-in's not. So once they're there, if they need transportation from there, there's a private service that does the inter-facility transportation.
Are they tracking them at all in here? on this report that you see? I mean, the ones that go to South Coastal.
No, I don't know. They could probably tell, they know where the folks are going, so whether we're going to BB or South Coastal.
So is this number 31 referred to fire?
It's not clear.
It's not.
It's not.
Okay.
So I'm gonna keep working on that and maybe explain why I think it's important. I did get another email about a bad echo, and not being able to hear some of the reports. I have advised that they are available linked to the agenda. So we'll work on a little more tweaks, but just one person has said that, and that is the, I should say who it is, it's Susan Kim for the reporter. So she's interested in the information for sure, and we're glad.
Okay, we'll move on to new business, the introduction of ordinances. The first one is an ordinance repealing Chapter 40, procurement of material and award of contract, and adopting a new Charter 40, procurement of material and award of contract. Solicitor Schrader, you want to take
This was an ordinance that was the subject matter of the memo I prepared, I think, in May. And it just needs to be introduced and it'll become part of the public hearing record starting in October. As you know, or as we reminded ourselves during the quarantines, there is a 60-day requirement on the adoption of ordinances. When it was prepared, had it been submitted at the time that it was thought to be submitted, it would not have been adoptable because we don't work in August, and we would have been beyond 60 days. So that's why it's on here tonight.
Okay, thank you. The second ordinance,
You need to address it.
excuse me?
Nobody introduced it.
Sorry?
Did you introduce it? Somebody needs to.
Oh, somebody needs to introduce it? Okay. I needed someone to introduce the ordinance.
I'd be more than happy, Mr. Mayor, to introduce the ordinance relative to Chapter 40.
Okay. Do you need a second?
No, just
Okay.
introduction.
All right, good. Good job. Okay, the second ordinance is an ordinance to amend the Ocean View Code, Chapter 169, Property Maintenance, Article 1, Grasses, Weeds, Other Vegetative Growth regarding trees, shrubs, and other vegetative growth within towns, easement, or rights of way.
Carol, do we want to introduce this now, or do you want to wait until we do E, the report?
I'd love to introduce it now, but I don't think Mayor and Council got the ordinance. So, is it in here?
Yeah.
Where am I? Oh, okay. Keep going. Yeah, okay. Oh, so they were back to back, I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. I'm getting confused by the back to back. Okay, there it is. Okay, so it is here, so if you so desire to introduce it, that would be great. The sooner the better.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I propose an ordinance to amend the Ocean View Code, Chapter 169, Property Maintenance, Article 1, Grasses, Weeds, and other vegetative growth regarding trees, shrubs, and other vegetative growth within the towns, easements, or right-of-ways.
Thank you. Okay. The next item of business is discussion, consideration, and possible voting on a recommendation to approve Walt Curran to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission. Is there any discussion about this character?
Yeah, just one comment. Councilman Towards and I served for 4 years under Mayor Curran's tenure, and one thing about him, his judgment was sound. He did not have a personal agenda. Everything that he did or recommended was for the good of the town, and one of the reasons we're in good financial shape now is because of former Mayor Curran. I highly recommend him for this position. I'm glad he stepped up.
And I'll add that I believe he's returning to the Planning and Zoning Commission, is that correct?
That's correct.
So it's one of the few moments in time where we have somebody with prior experience.
You're never at a loss for words. I said you're never at a loss for words, Mr. Mayor.
Never, but sometimes I choose something not say.
Okay, any other comments before I ask for a motion? If not, I need a motion to accept Walter Curran on the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Motion to accept former Mayor Walt Curran as a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So approved. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Bob. Well,
I guess you need the money, huh?
best line of the night.
Plus the mileage.
Okay. The next item is discussion, consideration, of possible voting on the Dunes Pink Classic Resolution 21-3. Walt Curran started a tradition that I'd like to carry on in terms of providing a proclamation for the Dunes Pink Classic that takes place at Bear Trap Dunes. And I can read the public proclamation before you all decide. Whereas recognizing that breast cancer is a disease that affects all members of the family, and the battle for a cure should be fought by all in the community. And whereas the Dunes Pink Classic, a golf tournament held at Bear Trap Dunes Golf Course, is currently in its 15th year. Whereas in its first 14 years of operation, the Pink Dunes Classic has raised in excess of $375,000, which has been donated to the treatment and research for the elimination of breast cancer. And whereas in the past 11 years, these donations have been given to the Delaware Breast Cancer Coalition Incorporated, thus ensuring that the effects of these efforts stay to assist those within the state of Delaware. And whereas the effort by all those who plan and run the Dunes Pink Classic, as well as those participating and donate to such a worthy cause, should be recognized and appreciated by the entire community. Now therefore, on behalf of the Town Council, I, John J. Reddington, Mayor of the Town of Ocean View, would decree Monday, October 4, 2021 as Dunes Pink Classic Day. Any comment? I need a motion.
Motion to approve the resolution. Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
You can sign that one and give it back to me.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Discussion, consideration, and possible voting on a name change recommendation for 32 West Building.
Yes, Mayor and Council. As you know, the building that we're in here, 32 West, has been referred to as Town Hall since the years that the town offices used to be housed here. That's all but all the non-police admin personnel, that is. Since the move to 201 Central, Town Hall name was maintained. Many in the community are aware that our administrative offices are no longer here and they're at 201 Central. But the Town Hall reference does cause confusion. I can share that before working for the town, I came here to get a fence permit, only to find the doors were locked and see a little sign. We've had, since we have tenants here during the day, I have now had the opportunity to hear from them about the number of people who come thinking that they're going to find the rest of the staff here. So it is a regular occurrence. what I'd like to recommend is that mayor and council consider removing the town hall name and changing the name of this facility to Town of Ocean View Community Center and Town Council Chamber, or vice versa, at John West Park. The above labeling of the facility would match more of what we're using the facility for. We are going to hopefully add more programming, classes, and with the current tenants, so that we will be covering hopefully the full cost of running this facility. We're nearly there at this point. So giving it a name that is more appropriate to what we're actually using it for seems like a good idea, and it would end some confusion.
I agree. I think there has been a lot of confusion about what is the town hall, where is the town hall? And even the admin building is being referred to as the town hall by other people. So I think it's a good idea to change the name. I would like to see it called the Town Council Chamber and Community Center. The reason for that is 75% of this building is the chamber that the town council and other boards use for their business. And we've only have 2 tenants right now. By the way, I did meet those tenants on the boardwalk in Bethany Beach last week, and they raved about how great this place is. So it could become more of a town center, but I would like to see it the town council chamber and community center.
Several years back, I taught in the OSHA program, which is the University of Delaware, and there was confusion because students would always come late because they would go to the other building not knowing. So I think that'll help with them to eliminate the problem that they have, which I'm sure is still ongoing, where people will go to that building and the classes.
So vice versa.
Exactly.
I guess it depends when you pull into town.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well,
I have some input.
okay.
I'm really happy if we can come up and agree on one name for each building once and for all. That would be wonderful. I do think that the community center, town council chamber, or council chamber, community center, whatever, is a little bit of a mouthful, a lot of words, a lot of syllables. I don't think people will say the full name of it when they refer to the building. Everybody knows where John West Park is. Even people who don't live here know where it is. So I wonder if we could somehow incorporate the history of John West and just call it John West Hall or John West Center. And that would be a lot easier to keep in mind and remember, and people would have a more intuitive feeling for where it might be without having to look it up.
John West Community
Yeah, but
Center,
it's not the John,
Park, something like
it's
that.
Ocean Views, Town of Ocean Views Community Center, not John West Community Center. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can monkey around with other ideas unless you want to give me direction. I think I'm hearing that everybody thinks it's a good idea, but
Yes.
the naming itself, I of course am not interested in changing 201 because we just got new signs with the new building, so we don't want to mess around with that, I don't think. But
Just to be clear for those who may be listening in, this is not a proposal to change the name of the park. It's
No.
only a proposal to change the name of the building.
What about Town of Ocean View Chamber?
I just don't think it,
Right.
because of the fact that we're offering classes, and certainly we're fortunate to have OSHA running most of them, and now that we have the new flooring, they can do different things. They've apparently been asking for a different flooring for some time. So we're hoping that we're going to be able to bulk it up. And they pay us based on the number of hours that they're in the facility. So the more the better.
I can see it's more important to have the community center, because they're using this 5 days a week. We use it one, possibly 2 days a month, of the council does. So I mean, there's more activity from these outside groups in here than us.
We have 3 groups meeting here. We have Board of Adjustment, Planning and Zoning. And
Yeah, but it's not that, it's.
Well, yeah.
I can tell you that it is customary, other places I've worked, to have our building's a little bit different. We don't actually have where we go into a building and then go into another room to go into the council chamber. When you walk in, you're walking into it. So, although we've been referring to it as the council chamber, but it's very common for mayor and councils and boards and commissions to hold their meetings in community centers that are in the whatever the
HOAs also use this too.
The HOAs use it, yes, absolutely. That's starting back up again. So.
You want to have some fun with this? How about a contest?
No.
We don't have a town slogan either.
Are you going to organize that?
No, but you know.
Yeah, I mean.
I think the rest of us are going to call it 32 West.
Well, and that's what I've started doing. The people that work with me now, I say 32 West, I say 201 Central, because it just got clearer. But and it's going to take a while. Even if we change the sign, it's going to take a while for the community and everybody, maybe even our own staff, to stop calling it town hall. I'm still getting people trying to stop people calling what I call the porch, the bandstand that we improved outside. So, I think it's a community center. I think we want to have things going on here. The more things going on here and outside, the more active, safe, involved our community is, the better. The last thing you want is a park where there's not a lot of people around.
Having heard different views, I think what I'm hearing is the town of Ocean View Community Center.
I agree. It's simple, it's direct. I agree, Ocean View Community Center.
Everyone agrees?
I agree with that.
Okay.
We'll have some sign that says something. If I have to paint it myself. Okay, so I appreciate that, and I think I got the direction to start working on that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next item is discussion and recommendation on tree trimming ordinance. Town Manager, how?
Yes, so Mayor and Council, you are aware that a few weeks back we had some confusion with our tree trimming activities, such that I actually called a halt to the trimming midway through the day, because I was concerned for the safety of the work crews as well as other people in the vicinity, and also the abusive behavior towards our staff members. So with that said, I provided in this recommendation that it goes with the sample ordinance, information of what we currently do now. We also had a little graph there, the town code information, and then going forward more specifically, basically there's 2 options that I see that are available to us. Option 1 is relying only on citing home property owners and requiring the property owner to have trees and bushes trimmed on our right-of-way through violations. This is a current practice that we have, but we do it now with proactive trimming as well. If this is the option we chose, the property owner bordering the right-of-way will bear all the costs for all and responsibility throughout the town. I don't think that this is in our best interest because of timeliness and because of the difference of different right-of-ways. Some are more important and more heavily trafficked. Option 2 would be continuing with the citing, but also continuing with our proactive trimming in certain areas that we deem are in the best interest of the full community. Tax funds would then continue to be utilized to improve visibility, walkability, open up the bike lanes, and other identified areas. This option should also include that we would commit to advance notification of residents in the area. And we'll do that by all the ways that we have to communicate, our OBTV and social media outlets and website. In addition, given our recent experience, we also need to make sure that the ordinance deals with anybody that wants to be disruptive once we are trimming in our right-of-way. And so we've made some recommendations to deal with that. And to make some improvements in the ordinance. So that would be my recommendation. The mayor and council authorize moving forward with option 2 as described above and initiate the attached changes to Town Code Chapter 169 via introduction at this meeting of September 14th, followed by first and second reading at subsequent meetings.
Good, thank you. Any comments?
It's already introduced.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's already introduced.
yeah,
yeah.
okay. I think it was not with,
So I think we are going with option 2.
okay, wonderful. I think it's in
I have a
our
comment about that.
Yes.
To clarify, option 1, the homeowner is responsible for costs and for keeping up his property. Option 2, we're asking the taxpayers to take care of the problems. Is that correct?
Not everywhere. Option 2 includes both options, that we can cite somebody if it's hanging into the street, or we can proactively, as we're doing some of the things we discussed earlier today by Ken. There's certain areas that are more highly trafficked, or there's severe site issues where going in and doing it ourselves is better for the greater good of the community. We don't have the delay in citing and having to wait and then hire somebody to do it. It's regular, customary work that towns do.
Let me give you an example, because one of the things this does is not only with rights of way, but it also deals with drainage easements that we have throughout the town. And as you all know, every time we have a big storm, we have a fair number of people complaining. I don't think that Carol or Ken can afford to wait through all the notice periods in order to get some people to remove vegetated growth within those easement areas in order to allow the ditch or the drain or the whatever to be cleaned out so that we get the water out of it. And that would be one good example where it's likely to be used in addition to the examples Carol just gave.
Yes, absolutely. In advance to a storm, there's regular patrols to go and clear things out so that flooding doesn't occur before it. Especially when we're getting notice of the biggies, the big storms.
Are you satisfied with that?
Well, I'm in a minority on this. I just think that the homeowner who does a responsible thing and does what he should be doing should be rewarded somehow instead of being forced to pay for somebody else's failure to upkeep his property. That's all. It's a comment. Op-ed.
And again, this would be something that is budgeted for every year, would be can be part of discussion for how proactive do we want to be. It can be limited to certain areas if it's so desired. By no means do we want to go out and do the whole town. But there's certain areas where it is in our best interest. we believe.
Any further comment? Okay.
So it's introduced. It's still got first and second reading.
Right, yeah.
Right. It's got to go through.
Hmm?
You still have the first and second reading for that.
Right, yeah. Okay, moving on, discussion, consideration, possible voting on a contract award for street paving and patching project number OVPZND 22-5. Ken?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Advertisement soliciting sealed bids for the FY22 street paving and patching project, project number OVPZND 22-05, placed in local newspapers and on the town's website. This work involves furnishing all labor, materials, transportation tools, supplies, and equipment necessary to make roadway patches, mill and overlay Briarcliff Court, Dove Court, Cedar Grove Court, and October Glory Avenue from Willow Oak Avenue to Sycamore Street, all located in the incorporated town of Ocean View. These streets were identified in our FY 2018 Pavement Management Program report, dated February 14, 2019. Report is attached for your review. A review of the FY 2018 Pavement Management Report compared the report to existing conditions. It was determined that this final year of the rating period, the most beneficial pavement management strategy was to overlay 4 of the streets that were recommended for FY22 and the 1 street recommended for FY 2023. We will be receiving a new report for FY 2023 through FY 2026 later this year, prior to the development of our FY 2023 budget for street repair and replacement. 3 sealed bids were received and opened on July 29, 2021. George & Lynch Incorporated for $231,995.25. Jerry's Incorporated for $254,941.40. Harmony Construction Incorporated for $255,890.50. The project estimate from the town engineer was $320,000, $327.31.05. The Kircher Group completed a review and summary of the bids. It was performed by Mike Biaco, the project manager. It's also attached to your review. Funding is available for these repairs in the FY22 budget under the line item street repair and replacement, totaling $369,980. It's therefore recommended that the mayor and council authorize the town manager to enter into a contract with George Lynch Incorporated for the total bid amount of $231,995.
Thank you. Any comments? I had one comment, that the recommendation of who to give the contract to is way under the amount of money that has been set aside for this project.
They're all under, well under the amount of money that was budgeted.
Right.
There's an estimating error in the Kircher Group's numbers that led to their estimate number.
Well, there's no comment. I need a motion on this project.
Motion to enter into a contract with George Lynch Company Incorporated for the total bid amount of $231,995 for contract award project number OVPZD 22-5.
Second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, so passed. Next item is discussion, consideration, possible voting on a recommendation to authorize the town solicitor to hire a real estate appraiser to begin the process of obtaining drainage easements in the Country Village subdivision. Okay.
Phase 2 of the Country Village drainage improvements have been in design since July 20th, 2013. This was a project that we inherited when we got here. Final design of this project was completed on August the 10th, 2021. The project is necessary to afford residents relief from flooded streets and yards. A 10-foot drainage easement along the side yard property line of 2 adjacent parcels, lot 44 and lot 46, is necessary to convey water from South Primrose Street to prong 4, the deep hole tax ditch. The Office of Planning and Zoning Development did reach out and have conversations with both of the owners of these properties. And we're told that they were not interested in giving the town drainage easements needed for the benefit of this project. It's therefore recommended that the mayor and council authorize the town solicitor to hire a real estate appraiser to begin the process of obtaining the drainage easements in the Country Village subdivision.
This is not the first time that we've had to use the power of eminent domain to acquire drainage easements. And perhaps the owners of lots 44 and 46 will have a change of heart later on.
I just want to add also, if these 2 lots would have been developed under our new code, our current code, we would already have those 2 10-foot drainage easements, as all new development is required to give us a 10-foot easement around all sides of the property.
Okay, any discussion? Need a motion?
I make a motion for the town solicitor to hire a real estate appraiser for the drainage easement of Country Village.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
So passes. Thank you. Next item is the discussion, consideration, possible voting on a recommendation to extend the engineering services contract of Kirchner Group, a Mott McDonald company. Ken.
On September 24, 2018, the town of Ocean View, specifically the town manager, entered into a supplemental agreement to extend an existing May 7, 2007 contract for engineering services with the Kirchner Group. The contract awarded under the supplemental agreement was for a 3-year period with the town option for 2 one-year extensions. This supplemental agreement was reviewed and approved by the town solicitor. A copy of the executed contract is attached for your review. The Kirchner Group, a division of Mott McDonald, formerly known as the Kirchner Group, has satisfactorily and in good faith provided professional engineering service to the town of Ocean View during the initial 3-year period. It is therefore recommended that the mayor and council approve the 1-year contract extension to the Kirchner Group, a Mott McDonald company, as outlined in section 3.2C1 of the supplemental agreement.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I need a proposal.
I recommend that we approve the 1-year contract extension to the Kirchner Group, a Mott McDonald company, as outlined in section 3.2C1 of the supplemental agreement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So passes. Thank you. Thank you. All right, last item is discussion, consideration, possible voting on the charter review report.
We're not going to ask for a vote, Mr. Mayor, but I will attempt to be very brief about this. The charter requires every 10 years that we review the charter to see if there are any matters which should require the charter to be amended. The mayor and council appointed former Mayor Curran, Councilman Malley, Finance Director Parks, Town Clerk Schwartz, and myself to review the charter. Document was sent out. We got comments from everybody. And we met twice, once in March and once again in June, in order to go over the various proposals. There is no urgency to this in the sense that most of everything that was recommended in the 6 recommendations is something that can be dealt with by ordinance rather than by charter amendment. The one that's likely to create the most interest may be the chief financial officer section, and the other one that may be of great interest is the one that I've left for Dawn and I to work on, And this has to do with the rather clumsy, awkward, and sometimes confusing way that we calendar the events that surround the adoption of the budget. And we're going to have to sit down and just figure out a nice, neat way to do it. 20 years ago, that was a good idea when the original Charter Revision Committee met. I don't think it is anymore. And again, it's just complicated when it need not be. It's almost Byzantine. So with those happy thoughts in mind, my recommendation is that we defer any action on this until we have a workshop and can take each of these actions up, or each of these matters up on a more deliberate basis, and allow everybody to fully involve themselves in what may or may not take place. That's it. And I believe that's less than 5 minutes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Okay, so we have the recommendation that we handle this in a workshop. Is there further discussion, agreement?
So I think it's a good idea.
I agree.
Do you want to set a date?
Well, the next available one would be the one where we're going to talk about the ARA funds, and I don't know how
I
long.
wouldn't recommend doing them the
I
same
wouldn't do
night.
them on the same night.
And I
either.
wouldn't recommend likely November because of the holiday.
December.
And December.
Thanksgiving evening is the third Thursday.
I don't know what the date is in November.
I don't either, and I think we also have to bump up against
I got it.
23rd.
Yeah,
That's awfully late.
Close up to
and it's also, we have a big event that week. Just personally saying that later that week. We'll kind of be tied up.
Would that be a wedding?
No wedding. We have our holiday event, Thanksgiving Saturday.
Right.
So it looks like January.
Well, there's something, well, we're going to get into the budget too, so.
Yeah.
No problem.
What
Budget.
about before the October council meeting access?
Well, I think we can get to it now.
I'd be tired, but I'll be good.
Aren't the three beginning of the year budget?
Well,
We could do them both the same night, but it'd be a lot to talk about.
I'm thinking that lockdown, I could do that. But
Well, let's assume for just a moment that rather than taking all 6 at once, we'll break them into, we could break them into 3 groups of 2.
could we do one this month, September 28th?
I'm out of town.
You're not here?
I'm out of town.
You're not attending?
Out of town.
He's not here.
I guess we can't do that. We can't do it without you.
You can do it without me. I can predict the outcome.
I don't think we want to do that. Okay,
We could
So-
set a totally different date. It's
Yeah.
been done in the past.
Yeah, we don't have to
We
do
don't
it.
do it often, but we could pick a third Tuesday instead of a fourth Tuesday.
Or a Wednesday.
oh,
No, don't pick a Wednesday, because we have Girl Scouts in here on Wednesday. Bump them.
okay, so if we can pick a different, if we can pick the third Tuesday,
So your workshops have to be.
why couldn't we do it in October?
Yes.
That's going to be the other one.
Well,
That's the one she reserved for that's the one she wants to do for the.
No, she said we could do it. Could we do 2 in October?
As long as this is fair.
I mean, not on the same day.
How about we send you some dates? We'll
Yeah.
send you dates.
Okay,
Okay.
yes. All right, is there any further business before we go to citizens' privilege? If not, we're going to citizens' privilege, which is on any item for discussion for tonight. Since nobody commented on the first citizens' privilege, you can talk on anything you want to.
and we'll open it up to the public.
Officer Carter, can you tell us, are there any, how many people are actually participating, or they? 9? Okay, so there's 9 people that are participating by YouTube. No questions? No questions.
Okay, hearing no questions, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. Meeting's over.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. My suggestion is